we're Money Mavericks, and here's why we're doing this. We're starting a community, really just to think differently around finances, which is why we're called Money Mavericks. Because what's a maverick?
Yeah, yeah. Maverick is just the idea. I mean, several definitions. It's a wild animal, cow, horse, that's unbranded and untamed. But even more practically, it's just somebody or a group of people that thinks differently than the status quo, thinks and behaves differently than the status quo. And that's the idea that, we've had with money, kind of just sick and tired of you know, of the world of personal finance and feeling like people like we can't get control and just watching the world around us kind of
Totally.
struggle in that world.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like it's so funny because everyone knows how to win with finances. Like in our head, everybody knows what to do. Like just spend less money, don't buy things that you don't need. But most
Hmm.
people continue to do all those things. Like they continue to buy things they don't need. They continue to spend money they don't have. Why is that? Because we believe
Hmm.
that winning with finances is much less about how much money you make, and it's more about your behavior around money. And so if you're tired of knowing all the right things to do with your finances, but you're still struggling implementing those things, you're welcome to join our free Discord, get to know us a little bit. We'd love to help and kind of get to know some of your story and get to know you as a person. Give us a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd love to chat. But Dylan, what are we kind of talking about today?
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited for this topic today. We're going to talk about the psychology of spending and why we buy things that we don't need. And really, what this kind of conversation it'll set the precedence for the entire heartbeat of the channel and the community to begin with, because it's all
Yeah,
about that psychology piece. We want to look at money
yeah,
and not just understand what do we do practically, but where is our mindset and how does our mindset and our psychology play into the success we have or don't have? So that's what we're going to kind of look at today in that world of why we buy things that we don't need. Most of us have probably done that before. We've
yeah.
gone on a shopping spree, or whether that's at the mall or online, and just spent money because we're impulsive and we buy something that we don't need. Gosh, I just countless things that I've just clicked purchase on that I didn't really need. You got a time you've done that, Josh?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all have times where we have done that. Though, like one of the things, honestly, Dylan, and I think, you and I have chatted about this before. One of the things that I have really trained myself to do is whenever I am like tempted to buy something, because we all get there at some point or another, but whenever
Hmm.
I'm tempted to buy something, like I've really trained myself to just ask myself the question, like, do I really need that?
Yeah.
Do I really need this? And most of the time, like 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Like, a sports jersey, a coffee out,
Hmm.
like pick anything. Like, do you really need that? Like, no, you can get coffee at
Yeah.
home for 10 cents, grit your teeth through the drip coffee. It's what I still drink today. Like, I still drink
That's
drip
right.
coffee every single morning. Do you really need that new jersey? Do you really need that, new sweatshirt or whatever it is? It's like most of the time, like, no, you really don't. And
Yeah.
yet we still struggle with this temptation to buy things that we don't need.
Yeah.
And
Well, and
whether it's
often,
like boredom, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
no, you're good. I was just saying, oftentimes, like, this just bleeds right into the big reason. One of the other big heartbeats behind this, channel and community is oftentimes the reason we do that is because we have no one in our corner, keeping us
Hmm.
accountable,
Yeah,
checking
100%.
us at the door, like, hey, do you, like you looking at me and saying, hey, do you really need that? Because we can convince ourselves to do a lot of things that we don't need to do.
Yeah,
But when we have somebody else that's kind of in our corner holding us accountable, that can really, really change the game. And so that's where we're headed with this. That's where everything that we're going to do here, with Money Mavericks is going to be centered around community. You mentioned the Discord.
yeah,
We're going to start unpacking a lot of that. But just thinking about spending, let's talk a little bit about kind of the emotions that we experience that lead us to this impulse buying, or retail therapy, whatever you want to call
yeah,
it.
yeah.
We're chasing the temporary high that it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, are you asking me? I guess, like what kind of emotions lead us
Yeah.
to spending on things that we don't need? I mean, I think by and large, like one of the most prevalent emotions is like well, I want this because I know somebody else who has it and I want to try and keep up with them. It's like, what, like, why? Like,
Yeah.
honestly, like, do you really need something to try and prove to somebody else that your worth is wrapped up in the clothes that you wear or the car that you drive or, you know, the coffee that you buy or whatever? Is like, like, honestly, so you're sacrificing your financial success and your financial future for your present gratification to try and measure up to somebody else. That's insane, bro.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of that is, sparked by just momentary feelings of whether it's boredom or stress or excitement. We start to just all of these, those are all three just kind of some emotional triggers that we have that, it's excitement over seeing something that someone else got, or whatever. And they're kind of a cycle. They just kind of build on each other.
Right.
And then, not to mention the idea of instant gratification. I mean, it's a pandemic, of our culture, the desire just for that microwave sort of, we want what we want when we want it, and, we've both seen how the entire world is preying on that, right? Online shopping, sales promotions, all that sort of thing, preying on our emotions, that preying on keeping up with the Joneses, preying on that desire, for instant gratification.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I was going to transition maybe just ever so slightly here. And the reason, like, marketers and ads and people selling anything get you in a weak spot. Why? Because you're alone. Because you don't have a community around yourself.
That's right.
And so the power of community in financial decisions is absolutely the game changer. If you have somebody who you can go to and who you know is going to ask you the difficult questions of, like, hey, how did you do this week? Hey, how did you do today in your discipline with your financial strategy? When you know that somebody's going to ask you that question, it changes your decision-making filter. And so when you see that billboard or when you see that ad come across on Instagram or other social media platforms, it's like, oh, I can't click into that, or I shouldn't click into that because I know that I'm going to get asked the tough question of, like, hey, did you fall?
Yeah.
So, like, really it comes down to, like, having a healthy community who is going to call you to that higher standard. Friends, family, our Discord, who are going to encourage frugality versus those who normalize overspending.
Yeah. Yeah. That's huge, because everything in that world of, social media, overarching just media consumption, it is designed to facilitate that sort of like consumer culture. Everything is there, even down to the very attention we give to the cell phones in general, like, or social media in general, is a commodity, right? They're buying our attention with, the videos and ads, and it's all pointing to something. It's all pointing to somebody's making money, at some level. And so, that's the power of advertising and whatnot. And so, yeah, I love that idea.
Let me ask you a question. Dylan.
Yeah.
How do you think, like, just from your own perspective, how do you think having others hold you accountable, whether that's through, like, a financial group or friends or community or whatever, how do you think having others hold you accountable will help curb unnecessary spending? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, it changes everything. And honestly, just being vulnerable, like, in the financial world, I've got accountability in a lot of areas of my life right now. In the financial world, not something that I have a lot of right now. Even you and I both super passionate about, personal finance, but I don't, we have not quite had the level where I'm, like, sharing with you what I'm spending money on,
Sure.
And so, but I do think there could be a lot of power of, like, someone you trust, even, like, if you really can't control it, like, sharing your bank statements once a month and being like, and just walking through one-on-one, when that meeting, at the end of the month is coming, like, and when you go to buy something that you don't need, you're gonna have a flash to that meeting at the end of the month where you've got to, like, admit that you spent money on something you didn't need. And so it's just an extra layer of, like, a kind of a guardrail there, to stop you from spending on what you don't need. So it could be immensely powerful.
Yeah, 100%. So really what you're talking about really is just building accountability through shared goals and having an accountability partner in the financial. I mean, this is why, like, you and I were talking about this a little bit off camera here, but like this is why things like CrossFit are so powerful, because it's all built around that community element. And so if you can pair up with a friend or family member or a group of people even who are going to regularly check in on you and your financial goals, like imagine, because again, everybody knows in their head what to do. Like everybody knows, just spend less money, you know, just don't buy expensive things, don't buy frivolously, et cetera, et cetera. And yet we still do the things because we don't have that accountability piece in the financial world, because it's like this weird taboo thing to talk about, which is so silly if you think about it.
Well,
like,
and this is where
the most important areas.
No, this is where I want to just speak to the listener a little bit, you know, about like what we're envisioning here with Money Mavs. Like we want what we create here with Money Mavs to be that place of community for you. If you are sitting here listening to us talk thinking, man, that's cool, but like, I don't have anybody I would trust. I don't have anybody that I could even talk to about personal finance. I don't have anybody that gets it. I don't have anybody that's as frustrated as me. Join our Discord server. Like this is what we're trying to create here. You know, we don't have everything perfected. We don't have everything figured out, but we just want to be a group of people to come together. You know, and one of the things I'm envisioning,
us, honestly, right?
And one of the things I'm envisioning, you know, down to accountability for spending, but also just even budgeting as a community. You know, for me, and I know is for you as well, like I cannot live without an every dollar budget, budgeting out every, you know, dollar I spend. And that's another topic we'll get into later, but just another practical example of what I envision us together doing.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and really the goal does, like you said, come down to like we just want to help people with their finances at the end of the day, because I think the missing piece in the financial world and becoming financially literate is not so much becoming financially literate, but it's becoming maybe what I'll coin this term of like financially relational with other people, or financially accountable, maybe is a better way of putting it, or financially disciplined.
And to add to it, to add to that thought, like for many of you guys listening, you know, what we found to be true, you know, is that it's often also not an issue of how much money you make. It's where that money is being spent and allocated currently. Sure, are there outlying circumstances? Yes. However, it's that community that can provide that support that opens your eyes to like, hey, I'm actually just spending all the money in all the wrong places. So, you know, thank you guys for kind of just tuning into this conversation and kind of hearing our thoughts a little bit. You know, this is new to us, it's new to you, and we're just grateful for you, you know, listening. As I said, join the Discord server, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and do all that stuff.
Follow us on all the social medias.
TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it is now. We're going to be on all those things and just come along the journey.
Yeah. Love it. Would love to meet you. Peace.